someone who closed down a games company, someone who's the first, several games companies, someone who is the first woman to write 2000 AD, and the latest upcoming mega artist. I'm speaking, of course, in no particular order, about Gordon Rennie, Emma Beebe, and Tom Foster. I was going to start with Tom, since you're the new boy in the block.
Okay.
It took you a wee while to break in, is that right, Tom? Did you persevere?
Yeah, easing me in then with the question.
I just thought I'd start light. And
I did the portfolio competition 2 years, came runner-up, and then won on the third.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I was, like, I don't know, I don't remember everybody there, but I seem to remember there not being too many people who kept re-entering. So I kind of figured I was giving myself a good chance by sticking with it.
So you've got to be in it to win it, kind of thing.
Well, yeah, exactly. I think people, even if they got to the final, maybe got discouraged or just, I don't know, or just were spent, maybe.
Possibly, yeah.
And I just thought, well, you know, coming second is pretty good.
Yeah, it is pretty good.
And then coming second twice is frustrating, but, you know, I was consistent.
Matthew Vaughan's just made a film about Henry the Eagle, and he never won anything. So
Eddie the Eagle.
Eddie the Eagle, sorry.
Yeah, Henry the Eagle didn't win anything at all.
Henry the Eagle didn't win anything at all,
No.
but Eddie did only slightly better.
Yeah, he did.
So, there you are. But, so do you think these competitions have a value?
Oh, well, for me...
For you, they do.
Yeah, unquestionably. You could, and I think for both for artists who are trying to get in and for, well, and writers now, because they do a writers competition as well. But also for 2000 AD, because there's something about when you're trying to break in, there's something about the kind of brick wall of showing your stuff to editors who are not really necessarily looking to hire people at conventions or whatever. They look up to kind of build up a relationship with people and then eventually hire somebody. But this, it's very low risk for 2000 AD because all they're saying is the winner gets to do a 4-page story.
Okay, is that a Future Shock type thing? Or?
Yeah, basically. And so it's not like they're putting a whole title on the line. But it means that all the people who sort of had no real kind of motivator to go forward, people who might, you know, otherwise be quite qualified, but just didn't see a natural inroad, this is like the thing to do. So all the talent converges in one place. So 2000 AD get to see the people who might have not been confident enough to go through the slush pile, but also the creators get a chance to actually put their work directly to the editor and know that if they're the best there, then they'll get a job out, or they'll get an assignment out.
Yeah, well, at least you get published. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, and that was enough for me.
And what was the content of your portfolio? Were there particular rules, or did you do your own thing?
The competition's quite specific. They give you a script to work from.
Right.
Although the first year that they did it, they ended up showing somebody had done another script that was just one of their general submission scripts, and there was a sort of feeling in the audience that like, because they included him in the finalists, and there was a feeling in the audience that wasn't very fair because everybody else had done.
You're not comparing like with like.
Yeah, but then I'd seen the guy going around the convention earlier, and he had done the other one. It's just that they liked the work he'd done better, and they never mentioned that. I thought
so he had done the proper.
Yeah, he had. So yeah, you wouldn't get through to the final without doing that. So from a portfolio point of view, it's pretty strict.
Pretty straightforward. Yeah, you just got to do that. And what's next on your horizon? What are you doing now?
I'm doing a Sinister Dexter story.
Oh, yeah.
Coming up. And I've just finished my first Dread cover, which will be on the prog sometime in summer. I'm not sure exactly.
A few months
It's a sort of generic one, so it'll probably be on a jumping on issue or something.
Aye, or an issue somebody's missed or something, and put you on it.
Yeah.
Do you do your own colouring?
For some stuff, yeah. For the cover, I did. I don't know what the colouring situation is going to be with this story. It's just a short story, so depending on the time scale, they might let me colour it myself.
Okay. Yeah.
And I did a thing in the Christmas special that I coloured myself as well.
Yeah.
But that was again just a one-off.
Cool. Gordon, One thing I was going to ask you, artist-wise, when we met Tiernan Trevelyan, or is that how you pronounce it, down in Ayrshire, and I said, how long have you known Gordon? He says, I've never met him before. How do you team up with artists? Because, for example, your two strips in 2000 this week are two completely different artists who seem to fit the story. So how does that magic happen?
Well, usually just the editor.
Oh, so nothing to do with you?
In both those cases, unfortunately, it was the editor. Em and I pitched Survival Geeks, and Tharg, sorry, not the editor.
That's
Tharg.
right. Oh, we knew that was his name.
Tharg teamed up, just thought Neil Googe was the best art droid for it.
Uh-huh.
And yes.
In Aquila, we had a change of artists because the other one went off to do something else with Pat Mills.
Oh, does he know what he's...
I won't forget that in a hurry.
No, you certainly won't.
His name's in the book.
10 years from now, we'll be having a panel and Gordon will go, do you remember that guy went off with Pat Mills?
So we needed a new artist, and Tharg suggested Paul Davidson, who I'd worked with a long time ago in Warhammer, I think.
Oh, in Warhammer,
he was very
right.
rough then. No, he was young.
Yes.
Young and rough and unfinished, like Tom here, you see.
Yes.
He needs to be bashed into shape. So that's
I thought you
it.
said John there, but I think it was Tom.
So I think I may have met Paul years ago. I've never met Neil Googe. So these aren't very good examples of working relationships with artists.
Yes. But you've been quite lucky. I mean, this week's edition looks pretty good. The artists do fit the story. Do you think so, Emma?
Oh yeah. I mean, Neil's amazing. You know, you should give him so much credit for Survival Geeks because of how much he brings to the page. There's one coming up. He posted some pictures on Facebook of the page coming out where I think we gave him sort of 4 little ideas of maybe you could put this in. Maybe it's like some references to zombie things from films, and basically he put in about 40. He went absolutely nuts, and that's what you can trust Neil to do. You just kind of give him a little thing to get him excited, and so he's just like, you know, like a wee kid, and he just goes and puts everything in it, and he really, you know, he loves his work, and he throws everything at it, and we're just so lucky.
So when you've got someone like him, do you tailor the script for his thing? Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, once we kind of learned.
So was it trepidatious at first, and then you went, oh, wait a minute?
Well, not so much. I mean, he, you know, he worked with Tharg and, you know, was given the script, so I think the fit was already quite good. And once we saw stuff come from him, we could kind of see what he enjoyed. And so there's things that we put in, which I think we're kind of saying, here's a little treat for Neil, a little project for him to come up with stuff. So we can kind of just give him an idea, and then he'll just bring everything he has to it. He just brings so much.
Yeah, definitely. There's 2 exhibitions in London just now, not that you have to go to London, just stay here. And they're both about women in comics. One's called Comics Creatrix, which proves beyond reasonable doubt, if there was any doubt, that women have been involved in comics for about 150 years. It didn't just happen overnight. And the other one's about Marie Duval, who was the first regular creator of Alice Sloper, which was not the first comic in the world, which, as you know, is the Glasgow Looking Glass, but was the first regular comic character in Britain, Alice Sloper. But she created it, not a guy. Now, I have beside me, am I correct in saying you're the first woman single-handedly to script Dredd?
Yes.
How did you get on with that? Did you feel that was an honour or logical?
Well, when I first co-wrote Dredd, it was kind of a surprise. So it was more sort of like, oh, we've got this idea, and well, we should pitch it. We'll see what happens. And then suddenly it's like, oh, you're writing Dredd now, and you're a woman. So from there, I thought, well, I'll pitch my own story as well. So it wasn't really something I had on my to-do list. You know, must write Dredd. It was never something that I thought would happen. It wasn't something I was ferociously chasing down the door, but when you have an idea and you get Dredd's such a unique character, and getting into his head is such a treat, and yeah, I just wanted to do more.
See, that brings up another point I'm always fascinated with, how you manage to play with other people's characters. I would find that very difficult, but I remember Jack Lothian said it's just like having a train set and somebody else's, but you can still make it go your way. Do you find it quite easy to do other people's characters?
Yeah, sometimes it depends on the character. If they're a well-defined character already, if they're all, if the bones are there, you know, you can get in. For me, I know it's working when the character just takes over.
Yeah.
When they start, I know it's going to sound mental, but they basically start talking, and you know what they're going to do. And in the case of Dread, a lot of the time, the stuff that I had meticulously plotted, Dread was like, no. So we went another direction because Dread said so, and that was
All right.
that was how it worked. But that showed to me that I got a handle on him, so that didn't alarm me. It was annoying, but it didn't alarm me. It was like, well, okay, you're in charge, but let's just go with what you want to do.
Okay.
So that to me is how I know I've got a handle on the character. If they're quiet and looking at me like, you know, come on then, let's see what you got, then I have problems.
Because Garth Ennis told me years ago he felt uncomfortable with Dread. He couldn't really get into it. And John Wagner, famously after creating the first new villain for ages for Batman, didn't really like Batman. They just couldn't get into it. Gordon, you did that Warhammer years ago. Did you have to read all those bloody tomes of background?
Sadly, yes.
Sadly, yes. Did you take
And
notes
it
from it or
still
something?
gets stuck in my head somewhere.
Seems like a hell of a lot of homework.
Yeah, I mean, I wrote loads and loads of Dread. At one point, I was going to be take over this character.
That's right, I knew that.
Groomed to be a successor, but these days I prefer writing my own stuff. That's why I stopped writing Dread, because you can't do what you want, especially with a character like that. Basically, I get fed up being overruled by John Wagner.
Yes, yes.
And I just wanted to change things, and I wasn't able to do. And the people still writing it now still can't change things. It's quite frustrating.
Is this an editorial decision? We want you to do this and that's it?
Yeah, it's very restricted what you can do with the character.
Any news about the new film? Is there going to be a sequel?
No,
or?
there's no,
No,
it's dead.
no chance, dead in the water. Another decade goes
Let's
by.
not start a rumour there'll be an internet. Yes, Gordon
Well, that's what
says
I'm trying
Dread
to
2's
do.
on.
That's what I'm trying to do. It's not. I'm going to start one about Judge Death. That's what it's going to be about. Now, Emma, are you writing Judge Anderson? Did you tell me?
Yes.
When's that?
I have no idea. As soon as I finish writing it, I'm sure something will appear. We'll see.
And are you the first woman to write Judge Anderson?
Yes.
So not only do we have a woman, but a woman character.
Yeah.
You're looking forward to that?
Yeah, I love Anderson. I'm more comfortable with Anderson than Dread, not because she's a woman, but because she's a little bit more human, really. She kind of has normal range of emotions and a sense of humour and stuff like that, whereas Dread is, you know, he's
Dread's a grumpy Glaswegian.
Yeah, so he's also kind of monosyllabic a lot of the time, and I like talky characters. I want to have dialogue and chats and stuff, and Dread's just not into any of that. So for me, it's a nice fit, and you know, I was just really cocky and saying, please can I write Anderson? It was that sort of.
Oh, so you approached them?
Oh yeah, that was all me. That was all me.
Okay.
I was, you know,
So it didn't just come as part of the
begging and
process.
pleading, and,
Okay.
And eventually like, okay. So yeah, now I have more to do.
Cool,
So-
cool. And that's going in the magazine, is it?
No, it's she's coming back to 2008.
Oh, she's come back 2000. Oh, she'll be
Very
easy to spot.
exciting,
Tom will
very
probably do a cover. How do you prepare for doing a character like Sinister Dexter? Do you dig up back issues? Do you do preparatory drawings?
Characters.
Yeah.
Mr. Dexter's two people.
Aye, that's right.
But
It's been 20 years since I read it.
yeah, well, I don't know. Usually, with somebody like Dread or whatever, my approach tends to be kind of almost the opposite from what you would think the natural approach would be when you're a new person starting on an established character, which would be normally you would think you would try and find your way of putting your stamp on what that character sort of looks like. But in a way, that's quite self-indulgent. I think from a reader's perspective, it's better if you try and find what the artists who've sort of managed to distill the character down to the kind of most iconic essence of them, and then try and emulate that without just being completely slavish and copying it, but just try and sort of nail down as much as possible the very kind of definitive version of the character. So, like, if I'm drawing Dread, I'll look at, Brian Bolland and
Mike McMahon, no?
Ron Smith, yeah, and Mike McMahon. Just the people who are sort of most identified with the way that character looks. And then with Sinister Dexter, there wasn't necessarily one artist who'd kind of defined the look of the character. So I don't know, I tried to kind of just take elements of all of them and sort of the commonalities, you know, look for the things which most people seem to do. So if most people drew Dexter in a certain type of suit, I would try and sort of streamline it down so that there's actually as few kind of stylistic flares as possible, and just try and make it as much an embodiment of the character that people think of as possible. And I think that works better for story and for and particularly for covers and things. People can instantly identify it. I'd rather they be able to instantly identify it as the sort of the character and feel that they're interested in or they like than look at it and go, oh, that's a Tom Foster cover.
Yes.
You know.
Yes.
But I at the same time, I don't want to have a very sporadic style. So I try and keep it all under the one sort of banner of, you know, they'd all look comfortable together on a page.
Yeah.
But have each character kind of their predefined version of themselves.
Yes. Is there any character you really fancy drawing, you'd like to get into?
Specifically for the 2000
we'll stick with 2000 AD till we wander off.
Okay, sure.
2000
well, I mean, having done Dread for one-shot pieces rather than a story, I'd quite like to do a Dread story at some point. Not necessarily a massive arc. I'm quite a slow artist, so maybe a mini, like a 2 or 3 part story, something like that. I don't know. I quite like the look of Rogue Trooper, but I've never actually read it. So, but it's quite a kind of visually.
He is
iconic.
very interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, he's blue. You know.
Yeah, he's blue for a start.
Yeah.
I wish you'd said that a few months ago.
Oh, really?
I'm not saying anything.
Oh, okay.
There's Prog 2000s later this year, when the numbering sequence actually reaches 2000, and they're doing very special things, and I've done something for it already that may or may not involve Rogue Trooper.
Oh, okay. But don't put that on the internet for a couple of minutes. So there you are. But you might be able to do something after Prog 2000.
I might have missed my chance to be in Prog 2000.
Well, you know,
thanks for that.
sometimes there's just no number 23 bus and 3 come at once. It's just the way things go. Emma, you're doing something with DC Comics at the moment. Are we allowed to talk about that?
Yeah, I've just finished doing something with DC.
I told you we're drifting away from 2000. And what does that involve?
It was the first run of their talent development workshop. So they handpicked a few. Well, they first of all did an artist slot. So they did an artist one where I think they actually flew everyone to LA and did it there. But for us lowly writers, we just had a video conference. But with Scott Snyder, so that was cool. Pretty good. So yeah, we had 13 sessions of, discussions at literally midnight for me.
So is it like a class?
Yeah, it's a class. So it's a class, and everyone does scripts and discusses each other's works. And every week you discuss a different aspect of comics and how to tackle it. And
you certainly can't do any harm, even if you.
No, it's all about superhero comics. It's very very focused on superhero comics. So no, it was really valuable. It was learned a lot. And
like Tom's portfolio class, do you get a script out of that for a real DC comic, or?
Well, that remains to be seen. But,
that remains to be seen, yeah.
Talking to them next week, we'll see. Okay. But yeah, I mean, you write a couple of scripts, so I was a bit like, right, Batman.
And presumably, if you pitch now, you know who you are.
Well, that's it. I mean, that's the aim of it. Is all the editors came and talked to us and stuff. So we got a really good introduction to DC, and they kind of know who we are and what we like to write and what we're interested in. So you never know.
Yes.
Something might happen.
Good. We'll Watch this space.
Watch this space.
Or go on Twitter, something like that.
And if there's any aspiring writers and artists out there, you can apply now for the next run. It's open.
Oh, so DC are going to do this on a regular basis?
It's going to. I
the
think,
fools.
Well, I don't know how they're going to manage it. They're going to have so many, so who knows how they're going to do it. But they are opening up for applications now, and it's quite a limited time in which to get it in. So I think they're hoping to limit it that way. But it's definitely worth doing if you're keen on these superhero things. That's where to go.
Just in case you don't know, but DC's editorial offices are now in California. They've abandoned poor old New York, so there goes all my free drinks. That's just rubbish. There you go. Gordon, you also write games. Do you find that more difficult than comics, or is it just a different skill that you're quite comfortable with?
It pays better, but it's,
that's
less,
good.
but it's less fun.
It is less fun, isn't it?
Because you don't have so much leeway. Games are quite often creation by committee. Like I just came back from Germany yesterday. I spent 2 days sitting in a room with 5 other people creating a game story.
Right.
You know, which is fun, especially when they bring in big German pastries and things like that. But,
All right.
And then we all go for German beer.
So if it's money, German pastries, not much of a story yet.
But there's so many constraints on what you can and can't do in games. You come up with a great idea. They go, that's a great idea. It's really expensive to bring to life in the game on the screen, so we're not doing that.
I remember I was with you once and you were trying to come up with something like 10 ways to say yes.
Oh,
and
God,
things
yes.
like
It's like writing game dialogue where, yes, they're called barks in the trade. And, yes, you have 10 different ways of saying hello or don't shoot me or or something like that. It's really quite tedious.
Have you built up a bank of these now that you can just slip
No,
them in?
I haven't done them for a while, actually, so I've probably forgotten how to do it. But, yes, I mean, I make it sound miserable, but it's not. Games are fun, but people are also impressed when you say you do games rather than comics.
Yes.
But they're not as creative as comics because the writers are quite often not the first person in the door. You're the 8 people who worked on it before you, like games designers, and then you're given, make a story out of this and with A, B, C in it, you know.
Is there a game you've done that you're quite proud of?
No, not really.
Not yet, not really. But your name's on the credits.
Yes, AVP was fun. It came out a few years ago from Rebellion, who do 2000 AD. Struggling to think of any really good ones I'm proud of since then.
Right, well, the AVP, will stick with that. Because Rebellion are a games company.
Oh, Risen 2.
Risen 2, that I worked on with Emma.
Yeah, that was a good fun one. It's just full of swearing and
10 different ways of
pirates
swearing.
and
It's
gnomes
pirates,
and
yeah.
just, it's
Okay.
Body pirate humour.
Yeah, body pirate humor. It's very, very silly. And surprisingly difficult as a game, so I didn't get that far. Trying to play it and hear our wonderful dialogue.
You seem to have got used to the comics world very quickly, because a few years ago, you not working in Parliament or something.
Well, yeah, I had that as my day job, which I've now abandoned to politics. Bye-bye, politics. See ya. So, yeah, I'm just doing this now. But, yeah, I mean, I came from writing for film and then got into writing audio and then got into writing comics and other things, so, you know, and games and that stuff. So it's been a kind of mad expansion portfolio of things, which is great because, you know, that just makes you stronger as a writer because you work in different mediums and have to work with different challenges, so it's great.
Actually, I forgot about audio. That must be quite difficult going from a visual medium to something where you have to imagine the visuals in your head and have sound effects and things like that standing in for sets.
Is this our Doctor Who audios?
Yes.
Yeah.
Aye.
You can buy at our table.
Apparently you can buy them and get them signed.
It's very different because you know you have to establish at the beginning of every scene where you are, who is there, and you know what visually is going on without any
visuals.
And it's quite difficult to, you know, to just say, oh, here we are back in this room again where this person and this person and this person are. And if you remember, they were tied up when we left. It's, you know, you have to find a way to make it dramatically authentic, but also get it out the way so you can just move it along. So it's a lot of challenges in audio.
Do you know which actors are involved before you do it?
A lot of the time we
so
do.
Can you write to them or?
Well, if it's Doctor Who, you know which Doctor and which companion. So you're obviously writing that, and then you come up with the rest of the characters and they cast for it. So
right. Okay.
Sometimes you hear, you know, who they might have cast early on. Sometimes not.
And are you still doing some audiobooks? Is that still in the portfolio?
Not currently. We're kind of between audiobooks at the moment. We did pitch stuff, but we're
doing the comics now. We're doing Doctor Who comics.
now.
All right,
so.
for Titan?
Yes.
Yeah, so we're doing Fourth Doctor.
She's out now.
Out now. Part 1's just come out.
I didn't realise that. Part 1's just out. Apparently that's in sale, is it?
To brilliant reviews as well.
Brilliant reviews from Gordon and Emma. Do you fancy doing Doctor Who? That's at Titan. I've got this whole lineup just now.
This is a delicate
He's
question for me.
he's pausing because there's a doctor or two in the audience here. So.
Yeah, that's true. You may want to leave. No, it's. I think it could be fun to work on, and I've got a lot of friends who are into Doctor Who, and I know they get a kick out of it. I've never been able to get into it personally. I know, but I would feel disingenuous
for the book.
saying anything else about it. Like I've always liked the idea of it, and I've sort of tried to get into it a couple of times because I've had close friends who are into it, and I can't. It always feels like something that should be on after news round. It's got a feel. it's just got a feel of not being quite. I don't want to. No,
I can see Tom's going to have to go out that door, but.
No, because if anything else I say from this point would be me sort of.
Let's talk about superheroes. You fancy doing any superheroes? DC's got this innovative scheme going to get you into the superhero world.
Yeah, I only heard about that for the first time quite recently. I'm not sure if that's the appropriate channel for me to go through at the moment. I've kind of got my own little irons in the fire and things.
Yes.
But
in the long term, maybe?
Oh, well, in terms of actually working for DC, yeah, certainly. I just meant that I don't know if I would go through that
that process.
Yeah. But yeah, I could see myself doing, I think particularly maybe cover work or one-shots or something for DC would be good.
Oh, Brian Bolland and Glenn Fabry haven't done too bad off just covers, you know?
That's true, but, that's exalted company, and I wouldn't want to count myself among them just yet.
Next week.
Next week, yeah. In fact, we'll be back then, and we'll talk.
By the time you come back next year, we'll have a big, huge portfolio of your stuff we can talk about.
I'll hold you to that.
Okay, cool. Any questions from the audience? Don't be shy now. Yes?
It's just a question to Gordon. Has he ever read Action or Battle back in the 1970s?
Oh, God, yeah, I grew up in those comics. You know, they're the precursors to 2000 AD.
Did you get an idea for Italia with Hellman of Hammerforce, the view from the other side?
Yes, that was that in Sven Hassel books, which were about the Nazis in World War II. And that's why I was like doing fascists, or basically looking at the bad guys as the main characters, which is what I've done in Jaeger in 2000 AD, where it's about the Nords who are traditionally one-dimensional space Nazis. And I thought, let's look at the things from their side of the story. Yes, they were big influences, those two comics.
And did you ever read Darky's from Battle? By
that was set, John Wagner wrote that, didn't he? It was set
I think it's just out again, isn't it?
Yeah, I remember it, but I don't remember it very much. It was set in the Far East, wasn't it? Against the Japanese.
Did you ever read Charlie's War?
Yeah, I remember that with Pat Mills in World War I. That's a great story.
Have you got any plans to have Italia have a sort of flashback campaign on Pashenkov?
No, she is going back to New Earth though in the near future. But
okay, well, just obviously I said to you before, but an amazing series that for me ranks alongside Hellman of Hammerforce and above all Darky's Mob and Charlie's Mob.
Oh wow, well, thank you.
Respectfully.
Thanks very much. That was good.
I'll give you the money later.
Yes. I didn't know Gordon's brother kept coming to these things. Any other questions, folks? It's a bit of a shy audience at the moment. What do you read, Tom? What do you like reading? Do you read graphic novels? Do you read novels?
The last year or so, I've actually found it quite difficult to read comics for fun, just because I spend so much time either drawing them or kind of having to sort of study them academically. So I've only just kind of got back into reading just regular fiction, not graphic fiction. But when I do sort of manage to get the kind of the right mood to read comics, I mean I've always been a big Spider-Man fan. That's been my that's the character that.
To quote Sheldon, you mean Ultimate Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man, Spectacular Spider-Man?
Well, Amazing Spider-Man and Spectacular Spider-Man both exist within the same.
I know. I was just doing a Big Bang Theory reference.
Yes, sorry. I didn't mean to step on your reference.
Spider-Man 2099.
Yes. We all love him, don't we? We can all identify with the world.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's who I like. I do read Batman and Judge Dredd, but I tend to read them more kind of sporadically, whereas Spider-Man, I've sort of kept up with the continuity a bit more.
Okay. Do you have a favourite Spider-Man artist at the moment?
At the moment, like I say, the last year or so, I've not been reading it as much.
Yeah.
So I'm not right up to the minute
No.
on it. My favourite Spider-Man artist is probably somebody who doesn't actually do that much work for it, but I really like Lee Weeks' take
Oh,
on
yes,
Spider-Man. He doesn't do them very often, but he's probably my favourite. I was a big Mark Bagley fan. He was the one who sort of first made me get into the idea of doing comics.
Okay.
And I suppose classically like John Romita Sr. and stuff.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
more contemporary, yeah, I like Lee Weeks' take on him. I like Frank Cho's take on Spider-Man. I do like Terry Dodson and Rachel Dodson's take on him, but I haven't seen them do anything for a while with Spider-Man. They're kind of off doing their own thing now.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Cool.
about it.
Emma, do you keep up with the comics, or you used to have them on your tablet?
Yes, still do. I read practically everything digitally. I never have much time to go to comic shops, sadly. But what am I reading? I just bought a massive Buffy bundle. I'm very excited.
Okay.
And otherwise, I keep up with Lazarus. Greg Rucka. I just think it's phenomenal writing, absolutely phenomenal. There was one where there was literally a 13-page action scene with no dialogue, and it was amazing. I just massive respect. And I love Lumberjanes. I'm reading that as well. Noelle Stevenson.
How do you find something new on a tablet? I mean, one of the things about comic shop is just browsing and suddenly picking something up and seeing it. How do you do that digitally?
Well, there's often
Explain it
things
to the old man now.
There's often things promoted on Comixology and whatnot, but
Right.
mostly I just look at reviews and things on social media and see
Okay.
what's interesting and people I like Rucka, and see what they're doing, and just
Yeah.
and it's quite good because you can mostly those first issues are fairly cheap.
Yes,
You can
that's
kind
true,
of try
yes.
them
You can just
and
dip in.
see how
Yeah,
you,
that's
see
true.
how you go. So that's for me, it's just easy and convenient, and I can sit there when I can't sleep and just go buy lots of comics, and it's fantastic. So there's always things I've got to read from traveling or whatever. So,
Yes, that's
so, yeah,
true.
it's good.
That's very true. Gordon, you kept up reading comics? Or? No. I thought you were going to say no.
I said no last time you asked me that question in the
I
panel.
just thought we'd get a different, approach.
I did read a Godzilla graphic novel last week.
A
in Australia,
Godzilla graphic
yes,
novel?
which was surprisingly good.
Who
Set
was
in Edinburgh.
set in Edinburgh?
Yeah.
Who was that by?
It's IDW. It's some American hack. But surprisingly, it's the guy who used to write the Dread comic for IDW, and his Dread comics were awful. But this was quite good.
Oh, there you are. Okay. Review from Gordon. Dive into your Comixology and get that. IDW seem to have done not bad with a relaunch of Judge Dredd. At least it looks good.
Well, I don't know.
Yeah. It looks good.
The first iteration
Read it.
wasn't successful. No, they rebooted it. I haven't
They've
seen
rebooted
I
it,
haven't
yeah.
seen it yet, and
Okay.
I probably won't.
Okay. I'm asking the wrong person, haven't I? Have you seen them, Emma?
I've not even looked. I've no.
You've not even looked
I've
it up.
no
Still
idea.
going, the reboot.
As far as I know.
Right. I don't know. I like because I'd heard that it had sort of stopped, but that must have been the first iteration.
Yeah.
But obviously I haven't kept up with either. But it's quite interesting because obviously there's opportunities there potentially.
Dredd's had a difficult history in American format, apart from Batman Judge Dredd, of course, which sold zillions with that. Who's that artist? Simon Bisley. That obviously sold, even though Simon got the artwork in late. But the comics don't seem to have really taken off. There was a Quality Comics, which was probably a misnomer.
DC
Then
did it as well.
DC were terrible, I
The
thought.
town,
Yeah.
I wrote one of them.
Apart from the one you wrote.
No, it
Gordon.
was pretty bad.
Okay. They were terrible then.
Yeah, the Stallone Dread movie, they picked up the license, and they didn't last very long either.
And then they tried that comic for kids, Lawman of the Future.
Yeah,
or
I wrote that
something.
as well.
Yeah, oh, you wrote that as well. Fabulous.
That was a weird one. The Stallone Dread going shooting people with tranquilizer bullets
That's
all the
right,
time,
that's right.
with his codpiece on.
It's got to be Dread, but it's got to be non-violent and don't have too many negative things in it.
Can you see
but
the
other than that, just keep it authentic to the character,
Can you see the problem there already?
Apolitical.
Apolitical, that's right.
It lasted about 6 months, as far as I remember.
I thought, yeah, it lasted longer than I thought it would.
It just seemed really weird trying to launch a children's comic on the back of a film. I think it was Certificate 15 or something.
Yeah.
So your target audience for the comic, we're not going to go see the
That's
film.
right. Yeah. Put your Lawman to the side. We can't show you the movie.
It's as stupid as the RoboCop cartoon that was done in the 90s.
That's right, there was a RoboCop cartoon, yeah.
And a live-action series as well. Which
Yeah.
was,
But, I took the filthy money at the time.
Okay. Okay. I remember Robert Crumb said he would never draw Fritz the Cat again. He'd killed him off deliberately, never going to, not interested, blah, blah, blah. And we were in Angoulême and his agent came up and said, these Germans want you to draw Fritz the Cat. And he said, I'm not drawing Fritz the Cat. He says, it's just one wee illustration. I'm not drawing Fritz the Cat. I've got a cheque for $10,000. He says, what's Fritz the Cat doing? I think that's a better approach than Alan Moore. I'm not going to that film kind of idea. Any questions from the audience? You keep hearing, I keep hearing my voice instead of yours. Yes.
Just Tom. You said that you'd be interested in drawing for DC at some point. Is there any character in particular that you'd like to give a go at?
They don't do Spider-Man, by the way,
No.
Tom, so.
I wouldn't mind I mean, it's the most obvious answer, but I wouldn't mind a crack at Batman at some point, just because, even just to be part of the kind of canon of people who've worked on Batman at some point. But he is, I don't know. I think I could kind of lend my style to that quite well, and I've got a better idea of the character. I know more about the character, so I could probably kind of capture the character better. I don't know. I think I could maybe do a decent interpretation of Superman as well, but there's a lot of the characters with DC I'm not as up on the lore. I kind of know the Marvel universe a bit better. Actually, Green Arrow is a character I wouldn't mind having a shot at as well, because my dad was a big Green Arrow fan, and the character always kind of appealed to me. He was the one sort of version where the DC version Green Arrow appealed to me more than the Marvel version of Hawkeye. Green Arrow just seemed sort of somehow more like right, it seemed a better encapsulation of that type of character. And he's got a kind of good look to him as well. I like the beard and the little sort of Robin Hood hat and everything. It's all very kind of old world comics, which is my kind of forte. So,
have you read the Neil Adams run from way back where he got the beard and all that?
I don't know if I've not been able to get my hands on a collection of it or anything, but I've seen a lot of the artwork.
Yeah.
And Neil Adams' take on it is great. Pretty much anything Neil Adams was doing at that period looks brilliant. My favourite stuff that he's done, actually, though, was his run on X-Men.
Yes.
Because there's such a clear transition. Like the issue before he starts on X-Men, it looks like sort of 60s comic.
Yes,
that's
generic. True. Can't remember the artist, but it was, yeah.
Yeah, it was, and I don't think it was the regular artist either.
I think it was I don't think it was Corcoran. I think it was somebody else.
It was sort of one-off, but it was a very generic sort of 60s style. And then suddenly the next issue is Neil Adams, and it looks like you've traveled forward in time 30 years of comics.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. Like, I feel like I'd like to see him work with inkers like that, like Tom Palmer and stuff again, because I think that there's, his work now has.
His latest Batman wasn't so good.
I think a lot of it is to do with the fact that it's, with creators like that who are sort of enshrined, collaboration doesn't work as well. I remember talking to Bernie Wrightson at a convention a few years ago about...
Name dropper.
Yeah.
As I said to Stan Lee.
But to be fair, I approached him as a fan. This was before I was working professionally. And I talked to him about when he collaborated with Kevin Nolan on this Batman's comic that was all splash pages. It was unpublished for decades, I think. And they finally brought it out. And it's not that great because it's all splash pages, so it doesn't really work as a story. And they got Alex Sinclair in to colour it, who's normally great, but who just didn't work so well with their style. Mm-hmm. But I love Kevin Nolan as an inker. He's one of my favourite inkers. And I love Bernie Wrightson as a penciler. Yeah. But it didn't work that well. And I spoke to him about it, and I asked him why he thought that was. And he said that he thought it was because it was one occasion, because Kevin Nolan normally just pretty much goes in and redraws everything. Yeah. Which usually is for the better, because he's great. But with Bernie Wrightson, he obviously had so much respect for him that he didn't really want to. And it's the same.
He felt constrained.
Or he was just, he didn't want to.
Impose Kevin Nolan.
Yeah, he looked up to Bernie Wrightson too much, and the same is true. Like I've seen stuff by Neil Adams that Brian Bolland inked, and Brian Bolland's probably Kevin Nolan and Brian Bolland are probably the two best inkers in the business, and those were two of the best pencilers in the business, and so they kind of mashed their own style to try and deliver something that they thought was true to the original pencils, which they would never normally do. So, yeah, I can't remember what I was talking about.
I can't remember either. But Bernie Wrightson's Frankenstein, if you've never seen it, is absolutely magnificent. And he did a portfolio where the pictures are yawn size, and it's just amazing. It must have taken him years
7 years
to do some of these things,
7 years.
Was it? That doesn't surprise me.
To do 50 illustrations.
Well worth picking up. Still available, I think, in paperback.
It was unpublished for a long time. I think it's hardback. They brought out a really nice edition about nearly 10 years ago now.
Well worth seeking out.
Absolutely. It's not that expensive.
What I didn't ask you was, is there any writer you'd like to work with? Apart from Emma.
Present company excluded.
Because obviously that would be just too high up the scale.
Actually, you know what there is? There's a couple of writers I'd really like to work with, because there's a couple of writers who I'm big fans of in another capacity. People like Scott Aukerman, who's been writing for Deadpool and things recently.
Right.
I'm a big fan of Comedy Bang Bang and that whole kind of, I don't want to say fraternity because that seems sort of like a second fraternity, but that they have a kind of collegiate kind of group of comedians and things who write for comics now, particularly DC and a little bit of Marvel. And I've never really seen, well, with one exception, which was when Alan Moore and Kevin Nolan worked together on Jack Be Quick. I've never really seen comics, mainstream comics for DC and Marvel that work that well comedically, because I've always found they put a sort of wacky artist on it because they're trying to sell the comedy of it. Mm-hmm. And I always think comedy works better when it's deadpan and played against
juxtaposition with the
exactly.
Yeah.
You wouldn't put like a really wacky comic score onto a film these days. It would seem like an unsophisticated take on comedy. So I would really like to do a comedic story with a really good comedy writer like that, where I could play it straight, but that would help the comedy.
Yeah, I've got you.
That's something I would really like to do.
Excellent, excellent. Any final questions, folks? We're kind of running out of time here.
If there isn't any others, I've got a couple for Emma, if that's okay. So is there any characters outside of sort of 2000 AD that you'd like to write for? And as a female writer, what is your take on what Marvel have been doing to a lot of their characters recently?
Okay.
What have Marvel been doing to a lot of their characters recently?
Sure.
Oh, okay.
What have they been doing?
A lot of them, like Thor is now female, Wolverine's now female.
Right, fine, yes.
Great,
good, yes, okay. All caught up now. Who would I like to write? How long have you got? I would like to write, well, in terms of, I'll start with DC because that's where my optimism is currently lying. I'd love to write Batwoman. I'd love to write Catwoman. And I'd love to write Wonder Woman. I'd love to write Batman. The Harley, huge list, half the characters at DC, really. I'd love to write Tomb Raider comics. I'm a Tomb Raider obsessive, so I love the comics. And Buffy, love Buffy. So all those things are friends. I mean, obviously my own stuff, but in terms of other characters, those ones are up there. Marvel, Black Widow would be fun to write. And yeah, a female Thor. So it was brilliant, genius, really brave decision to make. And
Paul Merton says, is she called Thora?
No.
Nice. I
didn't read it, so I don't know how it turned out, but it seemed to be pretty well received and just kind of happened. And I'm like, okay, and that's how you want it to work. You don't want it to be sort of so crazy out there. It just is another take on the character, and if it works, then that's fantastic. So yeah, I'm all for that. I think it's exciting, and you can enrich your universe by doing unexpected things like that. So I'm all for it.
Just a final run through the panel. Gordon, what's coming up next? Is there a sequel to Robert Burns' Witch Hunter?
Yes, well, we're finally putting that together. It will happen at some point this year. Well, it will start to happen.
There's a plot, there's characters.
There is a plot, there's characters.
Things,
Well,
you know.
yeah.
For 2000, I'm writing another Jaeger series at the moment called War Child. I don't know when that'll appear. I've got this something Rogue Trooper-ish in Probe 2000.
Oh, there's this Probe 2000 we've all got to look out for. Keep an eye.
Keep a new series called Hunted that's also in the works as well.
Okay. Emma, what have you got coming out?
What have I got coming out? Mostly Anderson is what's coming up.
Anderson for the next one. Yeah.
That's the next thing.
And it's going to be in the prog itself.
Yes, and Doctor Who.
And Doctor Who. And Tom, what's happening after Sinister Dexter?
I don't know what's happening after that, but I do have a couple of things out there at the moment. I've got tutorials and things I've been doing every month in Imagine FX.
Oh, right, yeah, that's
magazine.
good. Yeah.
So videos as well, which I'm quite kind of proud of. They've been out the last few months, and the next issue is going to have a couple of good ones in it as well. And
that's a good magazine, Imagine FX. Yeah.
Yeah, I always like it's. Mm-hmm. I was glad to be working for something that I'd bought of my own free will in the past. Well, there's the Dread cover, but I don't know what issue that's going to be on.
Right.
But the big thing coming up is the trade paperback of the series that I did for the magazine. Well, that and another series that Colin McNeil drew, called the trade's called Brits at Noir.
Okay.
And it comes out in a week's time, I think.
Oh, that's soon.
But yeah. And the thing that I'm really pleased about from it, the thing that I kind of want to get out there as much as possible, is that in the back, they've put a sketchbook section of a whole bunch of the original black and white artwork. And
right.
I'm a big, I really like my black and whites. So that was a big thrill for me that they put that in there. And so, yeah, go out and buy that.
Is that literally in our shops next Wednesday or something like that?
Yeah, it'll be in Forbidden Planet, Waterston, everywhere.
Deadhead. We're in Edinburgh.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. Well, sorry, folks, we're kind of running out of time there. Thanks very, very much for the first panel. Please give a big Edinburgh Comic Con welcome to our 3 guests. Thank you.